When the war in Ukraine kicked off, everyone just assumed Russia's Black Sea Fleet would dominate. I mean, they had all the ships, all the power, right? Well, what happened next is something nobody saw coming. And today, we're going to unpack the incredible story of how that dominance was just completely dismantled.
Seriously, this is a real head-scratcher of modern warfare. You've got this massive, established naval force on one side. And then, on the other, a country with, well, pretty much no navy to speak of. So the big question is...
And yeah, that's exactly what happened. Russia's once feared Black Sea Fleet, it's been, for all intents and purposes, neutralized. And the story of how this happened doesn't start with some epic naval battle. Nope, it starts with a single, precise, and honestly, a deeply embarrassing strike.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're starting with an attack on the Russian port city of Novorossiysk. Now, this wasn't just any port. This was supposed to be the safe harbor, way back from the front lines, a place where the Russian Navy could just chill out without a care in the world. Turns out, that assumption was a catastrophic mistake. So here's the play-by-play. On November 25th, word gets out about a drone strike. Pretty standard stuff, right? But by the very next day, the open source intelligence folks, the OSN community, they had the receipts. Satellite images pop up showing this massive Tapir-class landing ship being dragged by not one, but two tugboats. Look, one tugboat is just business as usual. But when you need two, that's a big red flag that your ship is in some serious, serious trouble. And this is what makes this attack so significant. You have to understand, Novorossiysk was the fleet's fallback plan. It was the safe space they ran to after their main bases in occupied Crimea got a little too hot. So by hitting a warship here, Ukraine was sending a crystal-clear message. Nowhere is safe for you.
And as if getting hit in your safe harbor wasn't bad enough, the Russian response was just chaotic. In all the confusion, it looks like their own air defenses completely malfunctioned. An OSINT account on X posted footage with this just perfectly ironic caption, pointing out a Russian missile slamming into a Russian apartment building. Just a complete mess.
So, okay, a ship got hit. But what about this specific ship? Why was it such a big deal? Well, hitting this particular vessel wasn't just lucky, it was a strategic masterstroke. Because this was an asset that Russia simply cannot replace.
Just look at the specs on this thing. The Tapir class is a monster. It's a huge amphibious landing ship built to carry over 400 assault troops and dozens of tanks or armored vehicles. This is your go-to tool for moving the heavy stuff and a whole lot of soldiers right onto a beach. It's a massive piece of the puzzle. And that number right there, 50, what's that for? 50 times years. That's how long it's been since this type of ship was actually being mass-produced. And right there, that perfectly sums up the massive problem Russia is facing. This isn't some modern warship that can just roll off a factory line. We're talking about a Soviet-era relic. So when Ukraine knocks one of these out of the fight, that's it. It's a permanent loss. Russia's shipbuilding industry, which, let's be honest, was struggling to hit its targets even 50 years ago, can't just whip up a new one.
Now, it's really important to see that this attack on an old ship isn't some one-off event, not at all. It's really just a symptom of a much bigger issue, the total embarrassing collapse of Russia's entire strategy in the Black Sea. We're talking about a full-blown fiasco that's forced an entire fleet into a humiliating retreat.
What we're witnessing here is a textbook example of asymmetric warfare. It's like a classic David versus Goliath story, but with missiles and drones. Russia rolled up with a traditional navy, cruisers, frigates, the whole 9 yards. And what did Ukraine bring to the fight? A 21st century arsenal. Cheap but incredibly deadly sea drones, long-range anti-ship missiles, and special ops teams guided by high-tech satellite intelligence. And the results of this strategy? They have been shockingly fast and absolutely devastating. I mean, think about it. In early 2022, this fleet was considered a difference maker. Then, just a couple of months later, its flagship, the Moskva, is at the bottom of the sea, revealing just how vulnerable they were. Fast forward to spring 2024, and the UK's Ministry of Defense is flat out calling the fleet functionally inactive. And today, what's left of it has been forced to abandon its ports in Crimea and run for cover.
The numbers here are just staggering. Let this sink in for a second. By late 2024, Ukraine had managed to destroy or damage 1/3 of the entire Black Sea fleet. And let me say it again, this was done by a country that basically doesn't have a navy. It is a humiliation on a historic scale.
But this is way more than just a military embarrassment on the battlefield. This has huge, real-world consequences for Russia's economy and its reputation on the world stage. Losing control of the Black Sea has sent shockwaves across the globe.
So why does hitting that port, Novorossiysk, matter so much to, say, you and me? Well, it's because that one port handles about 2% of the entire planet's daily oil supply. Every time a Ukrainian drone gets through, it threatens a critical piece of the global energy market, not to mention Russia's own economic lifeline.
And the geopolitical fallout? It's been massive. Russia can no longer project power out from the Black Sea like it used to. All its talk about winning friends in Africa by shipping them grain, that's a lot harder to do when your ports are under constant threat. And maybe most importantly, it has forced Russia into a whole new, much weaker naval relationship with China.
And honestly, a quote from one of our sources just says it all. These joint naval exercises that were once supposed to show a partnership of equals, they now reveal a completely new reality. Russia is emerging as a junior party to Beijing on the high seas. It's a huge power shift.
So after all this, what's the big takeaway? What's the bottom line?
It's actually pretty simple. For what's left of Russia's Black Sea fleet, there is no such thing as a safe harbor anymore.
This little chart here shows the whole story perfectly. Step 1, they pull their fleet back from the open sea to their ports in occupied Crimea thinking they're safe. Step 2, Ukraine hits them in Crimea. So step 3, they pull back even further to Novorossiysk inside Russia proper. And now, step 4, Ukraine has hit them there too. They are systematically and successfully running out of places to hide.
And the signs of this weakness are just everywhere you look. The fleet itself is, as we said, functionally inactive. Russia's big annual Navy Day parade canceled because they were worried about drone attacks. Even their so-called shadow fleet of sketchy oil tankers is now being hunted down and hit. Ukraine has so thoroughly dominated the warships that they can now pivot to hitting economic targets. It's incredible. Which brings us to this final and really critical question. The whole point of a navy is to control the seas, to project power, to protect your shipping lanes. So if Russia's Black Sea fleet can't do any of those things, if it can't even keep itself safe in its own home ports, what is the point of it at all? That's a question that echoes far, far beyond the Black Sea.